Agricultural sector is a vital pillar of the Indian economy, employing close to 46.5% of the nation's workforce, with the GDP of agriculture and allied sector being 18.3% in 2022-23. Every budget puts a special emphasis on agri sector, and this year should be no different. But what do players in the sector want, and what should the finance minister focus on? To discuss this, we have with us Himanshu Rattan, partner and lead, Government, Agriculture and Allied Business, Government and Public Services, KPMG in India, Sharmila Oswal, co-founder, Gudmom by One Organic, Rohit Bajaj, co-founder and CEO, Balwaan Krishi, and Bhuvnesh Gupta, co-founder, Poshn. Welcome, everyone. So, Himanshu, coming straight to when it comes to crops, what are the things India can do? What we produce, how we produce? Do we need a closer look at that?
Thanks so much for that introduction. As we know, I think India is the world's largest producer of pulses, and in fact, we rank second in terms of production of rice, wheat, sugarcane, groundnut, oil seeds, as well as fruits and vegetables. To answer to your question, what we produced, does it need to be relooked? Absolutely yes. Because on one hand, while we are the largest producer of pulses, but we are also its largest consumer and its largest importer. In fact, our dependence on imports of pulses has only been growing over the last few years. And part of the reason is also because of there's been a drop in the domestic production of pulses. So, in fact, as per the Agriculture Ministry, estimates, we are going to have a production of around 234 lakh ton this year, which is a 10% drop from the previous years. And therefore, I think it's very, very important that we need to look at what we grow and how we grow. For me, I think there are two lenses that one must look at. One is the lens of self-sufficiency, and second is the lens of climate impact. In terms of self-sufficiency, as I mentioned, we need to look at crops where we are dependent on imports. Crops like pulses, also oil seeds. In fact, in case of oil seeds, in the last decade or so, while the production has grown by 25%, but the imports have grown by over 700%. So those are areas we really need to look at. In fact, we need a self-sufficiency program to look at crops where we are heavily dependent on imports. With regards to climate impact, I think it's need of the hour, and I think it's happening across sectors. And in agriculture too, we need to look at mechanisms for a climate smart agriculture as well. In my view, I think there needs to be a holistic program that needs to be rolled out when we are looking at climate in agriculture. I think that it needs to be a better focus on soil and water management. We need to develop more resilient crop varieties. And I think there has to be some overall mission on promotion of natural farming as a concept. I think those are the things that come to my mind there.
Right. Shamila, coming to you, in recent years, the government has put a lot of focus on millets. Why is millets so important for India?
In fact, millet is not a new crops to India. It is like very, very indigenous and ancient crops. Like it is available and it has been in existence since thousands of years. It's that only the Green Revolution, since 1960, the whole concentration went on the wheat and rice. But millets were already belonged to India because of its very high health, nutritional values. It's the climate resilient crop, is the smart crop which doesn't require much water. It is very like drought friendly, smart carbon, climate smart crop. So I mean, if you see now presently the whole world is facing the climate change issue, and with this all, even the water issues, the climate issues, the food security issue, nutritional security. So post COVID, and if you have seen that 2023, India had proposed to the United Nations and UN accepted this, and 72 countries of the world, despite millets being recognized as a fodder, animal fodder, but still it has been accepted as a healthiest food, or the millet year 2023, only for this reason, for catering the food security, nutritional security, being the regenerative, sustainable agriculture crop which is like very user friendly for the farmers and the entire ecosystem.
Rohit, coming to you, one area that does not get talked about as much within the farming sector is the farm equipment space. What does the farm equipment space in India look like to you?
So basically, the farm, if I talk about first of all, thanks for giving me this opportunity, Bran. So around the market size, what I can say, if I come to the most interesting part, the market size of the farm machinery, it's near to 13 million to 14 billion dollar in India, roughly around 1 lakh to 1 lakh 20,000 crore. It's humongous, of course. Largely, that space I think is divided into four parts. One, I can say tractor, which we all know. Then the second is tools, hand tools. The third is irrigation equipment, and the fourth is small farm machinery sector, in which we as a company Balwaan Krishi deals in. And this is about the market size. And as you asked me, what that look like, I can say roughly everyone says farm machinery. India is 45% mechanized, right? But India is very fragmentedly mechanized. Like it's fragmented through states. Like Punjab have the highest mechanization level of 40-45%, still which is very low than the developed nations. Then if you talk about the eastern part of the India, it's not more than 10%. A simplified agriculture can be divided into seven steps of farming, from sowing to, I can say, sowing, then first land preparation, then sowing, then irrigation, then interweeding, then harvesting and threshing. If you see the fragmentation of mechanization in process itself, tractor is largely the one machine which is used. To conclude this, I can say, this sector is born to happen. The labor, there is a shortage of labor. People are migrating to cities. People are not willing to work in odd jobs. So which is fine, which everyone have a right to get improved in life, right? So, but still, will be the demand by 2050. The demand of the food will be double. The hands which will be working will be less. The land which will be available will be again 20 to 30% less. So, mechanization is bound to happen. Largely, it is interesting to see how tractor grows and how small farm machinery will go. And as per my close observation to this sector, the small farm machinery would go around 30 to 40% increasing year on year. So that's from my side. Any specific thing I love to answer. So yeah.
Right. So, Bhuvnesh, coming to you now, Rohit talks about how demand for food will increase, but land supply would also, become more challenging. One area, of course, which is very important is the supply chains, the agri supply chains. What is the current state of agri supply chains in the country?
So see, if we see existingly more than $14 billion of food gets wastage around what we say from the farm to the consumer or to let's say agri processing unit overall 10 to 15% is what goes out, which is like lost, right? So like Himanshu mentioned, Rohit mentioned, and also Sharmila mentioned. So multiple aspects. These are all inputs, right? So if we do climate resilience, if we go towards like less import, more Atmanirbhar projects, if we talk about mechanization and lower land. So these are all inputs which will be the outputs of a farmer, right? And then they have to be controlled by a supply chain. The current structure of the supply chain in India, even apart from a lot of policies from the central and the government, state governments, so it is not so much. There's a lot of wastage. I will say it's still in the early stages. Let's say 5 to 10% of it is put up in cold chain and other storages, but it will definitely require a lot of private participation as well, apart from developing the local infra via public participation, but a lot of private participation would also be required for creating a win-win overall ecosystem apart from other dependencies.
Himanshu, coming to you, let's take two crops now, production of rice and something which is a little different from rice, which is sugar. Uh, Both are in a state of flux. And why I say why I pick these two crops is because they're also an important source of ethanol, and we've heard so much about ethanol. How do you see production of rice and sugar panning out, and what should the budget do?
Very, very pertinent question, Pran. I think, as you're aware, the government has a focus on reducing the entire hydrocarbon dependency that it has through the ethanol blended program. And I think the target is to achieve E20, which is 20% ethanol blended petrol by 25-26. And both rice and sugarcane have been used to produce ethanol. But of late, the government has been discouraging its use because of various reasons, including, there's been apprehensions about domestic production of both rice and sugar, and also, the high retail prices, especially in case of sugarcane. In fact, the estimates as on date suggest that we're going to have a lower production of sugarcane than we've had in the previous years. And I think the priority of the government would remain, and I think it creates more pressure on the government to ensure that sugar is available for domestic consumption rather than for exports and perhaps being diverted for uses like ethanol. And I think the other part that comes, and because you kind of clubbed both rice and sugarcane, is that both of these crops are water guzzlers. In fact, as per one of the Niti Aayog study, to produce 1 liter of ethanol, it requires around 2,860 liters of water when doing it through sugarcane. So I think that's one of the perspective that the government also has, and therefore it has been encouraging production of ethanol from alternate means like grains like maize, etc. So I think that's something that would be the focus of the government. We've seen that the share of ethanol production from from grains such as maize has increased year on year over the past few years. So I think that is going to continue, and that's where the government is going to focus on. But also with regards, sugarcane, wherein we are looking at drop in production, I think the government's focus is also going to be seeing how to expand cultivation in sugarcane, and also for promoting water management, efficient water management for production of both rice and sugarcane.
Interesting. Shamla, coming to you, government has recently launched a number of initiatives to boost the demand for millets, but their production, on the other hand, hasn't risen much because farmers' income from millets is probably still low compared to other competing crops like maize and rice. And we've done an entire study around that as well. What needs to be done according to you?
If you see the global market, 2013 millet market was 13 billion, and by 2031 it is estimated as approximately more than 30 billion. So if you see the rise into the globally, it is definitely showing increase. But on the ground level, if you see the major production of like ragi, bajra or jawar is like 98%, out of which 62% is bajra, because bajra is considered as an animal fodder, not for the human consumption it is going. So despite millet year, whatever the efforts were taken by the government for the promotions and the consumption and as a nutritional benefits, health benefits, but still that much awareness is not still in the market. So still consumer, or if you see the millennials or the alpha or the Gen Zs or the present youth, if you see the older generation, they prefer to eat jawar roti or bajra roti or ragi roti. But if you will ask to any present generation, as you know, the whole world is towards the noodles, pasta, or the completely they changed generations. But at the same time, the farmers needs to be incentivized. Whatever happened for the whole year, the efforts like was as a millet year. But after millet year, what? So it has to be whatever the expenses or huge money spent by the government, it limited to 1 year. In fact, that use or that the conversion or the result will start after that 1 year. So the efforts has to be continual, and from the millet year, it has to be considered or declared as a millet decade. So whatever the awareness. So as I said, 1960 Green Revolution, rice and wheat got all the concentration and millet took the back seat. But if we want to get back again the resilient and regenerative sustainable crop again, like millets, then again farmers needs to be incentivized, because the whole focus is on rice, wheat, maize, because it's a high yield crops, cash crops. Millets demand, yes, demand started growing, but not to the extent that farmers will get more. Like MSPs are also not that high. MSPs needs to be increased, or the farmers needs to be incentivized. And even in the market distributions, they are not yet. In fact, just I'm back from US and I saw where when the millet year was there, because Prime Minister was so much promoting about millets, people suddenly started asking for millets. But down the line, after millet year finished, suddenly you will see the shelf and all everything. And I took the survey even internationally. which is giving that people are not interested. The reason is, after that millet year and pushed by the government, that efforts needs to be consistent, from the media houses or the center of excellences, the academia, all together. The research has to be on, farmers needs to be incentivized, awareness need to be continual, and the farmers needs to give the hand holding, mentoring, constant support on the millets. Then only we can have this food security or the nutritional security as the consistent efforts.
Right. So Sharmila talks about a consistent effort to promote millets. Rohit, coming to you, what's happening in your sector? We hear a lot about, Atmanirbharta. Uh, how is enough being done for your sector in terms of being self-dependent? And why is that so important for India's agricultural sector?
If you talk about the importance of this sector, as I mentioned in the previous answer, by 2050, it will be double, the food requirement will double, right? And land will be shrinked again, the labor will be reduced. So because of these reasons, you know, mechanization is bound to happen, as I said, it will be there, and it is as important because it's one of the SDGs, it's the food security. And ultimately, if Sharmila was talking about the millets, I think, in my backhand, the answer to all these problems, consistency of the farming, the high yield is the solution is under the mechanization umbrella. So if you have a right machine to work on, so it's bang on. A farmer can earn a good yield. The land can give a good yield. The farmer can earn a better revenue from the same piece of land. Plus the food requirement, which is going to increase and which is increasing day by day. Largely, people per capita income of India is increasing, and as per capita income increase, people start adding fruits and vegetables to their meal. People start adding milk to their meal, better nutrition products. So these all require a precision farming. And when we talk about precision farming, again, it's about the mechanization. So as you said, why it is very important, and I think for this reason, for the food security reason, for farmer earning a good income, for farmer earning more money, saving more money, the farm mechanization is important. Now I come to the second part. You asked, if in there is a Atmanirbharta on this farm mechanization of India, basically Atmanirbharta, I understand the India is, जितना इंडिया को चाहिए उतना सेल्फ कंजम्पशन बना पा रहा है कि नहीं बना पा रहा, right? In the case of farm machinery, the tractor is the only machine which is selfly made and selfly consumed, and India is one of the largest exporter in the tractor segment. When we come to small farm mechanization, there is a initial acute shortage. There is acute shortage of labor coming up, right? There's acute shortage of labor coming up, and because of which there's a inherent need of farm mechanization. So largely pre 2015, I can say the labor was direct competition to the machines. But post 2016, continuously there is a decrease in labor supply. So reason behind the same, farm mechanization, it's important. And as I say, in small farm machinery, largely these machines are imported. And India is not yet self-Atmanirbhar, but coming in 5 to 6 years, when India have the MOQs, when people are having good awareness around these machines, the farmers start demanding these machines, there will be a Make in India soon coming into this sector. It has been started in some equipments like battery sprayers, hand tools. India is becoming self-nirbhar, but there are bigger equipments which come up to 7 to 8 HP, which I think India is yet to be Atmanirbhar, but coming towards the point, 2 to 3 years down the line, India will be self-Atmanirbhar in at least small farm mechanization category.
Rohit, as an add-on question, how price competitive you are when it comes to your products compared to something which has been imported or from an MNC?
Balwaan Krishi place as a value of money product. We are not as cheap as compared to the Chinese product. We are not as expensive to the German imported machines. We come in a category where we give a quality product, a comparable quality product with a fair and affordable pricing. So it's more like a good quality product in affordable pricing range. It's like to make it simpler, I can say it's like a boat speaker. It's not Apple or JBL speaker. It's not cheap Chinese speaker. It's a boat. It's a value of money product, and we place ourselves in the same category. Reason behind this is India is a very price sensitive market, and we cannot, when there is nothing, you cannot say we When there is nothing, I cannot say we have to sell the highest quality machine. We need to sell something which is affordable by the larger community of the farmers. So as you say, how competitive we are competitive, but we consider ourselves as a value of money product where we give training, servicing, postal servicing, awareness around the farm machines.
Right. Bhuvnesh, coming to you, what are the challenges that plague the efficacy of agricultural supply chain and their management?
To Pran rightly said, so let us see what are the broader distinctions, what comes in the supply chain, right? So the first thing is the distribution, then it's logistics, then it's storage, then it is processing of the goods, and then it's distribution again of the processed food, right? These are the broader five pillars if we talk about the entire supply chain. So the first piece is, let us talk about distribution. In distribution, we have ENAMs, we have a lot of government interventions like NCTFI, NEML, and a lot of private players are also coming in, which are market linkages programs via FPOs, farmers, and everybody, right? That has tremendously done a good job overall in terms of linkages. But the shortage is there is no private participation, no linkage of credits around it. The second piece that comes up is cold chain, or let us say dry chains infra, right? So a lot of cold chain and dry chain infra is coming up for the storage of goods, whether it is fruits and vegetables or dry commodities. Again, there's a lot of government subsidies, government interventions along with the private players which are going in. So a lot of capacities are again built up, but these are capex heavy and these are like spread across a couple of years, right? So people don't venture much because the idea is it entails a lot of upfront capital going on, and the results or the output is very long term. So gestations are high. So that is where, again, the count of people participating in reduces. The third piece is logistics. So in logistics, let us say either it is from a farmer FPO to a mandi or from a mandi to a processor. So this is a challenge where nobody has still come, even from a public policy point of view. And there where the most of the wastage happens. And then the fourth leg is your processing units. Again, their Ministry of Food Processing has done a tremendous job. A lot of good plants across country are coming up. But again, it is again like your storage capability context. So typically a unit has to be in the range of 5 to 25 CR to be profitable in, let's say, 4 5 years, or to be self-sustainable. So it includes a lot of, again, capex going on, right? And the fifth point is the final linkage, because everybody will fundamentally shrink to the income of the farmer, or what is the output we are going to generate, what we can generate from the import, export, output side, or the millets trade. So in the last piece, which is distribution linkage, again, there are not a lot of companies or not a lot of public participation which is out there. So if I have to say on the five pillars, on the two fronts, we are doing pretty good, but a lot of further private participation is required. But on the other three fronts, we are still very nascent, and a lot of it has to be done both by the government as well as the private participation.
Right. Manshu, coming to on the topic of technology in agriculture, mechanization, how can this be enhanced, and is enough being done to promote technology? How can someone like Rohit be made more acceptable?
Absolutely. I think Rohit made a very, very strong pitch for farm mechanization. I can't really agree more with him. But I think, you talked about technology in general, and I think technology and technological innovations have always shaped the way we do agriculture. In fact, if you look at the agriculture that we know today has evolved from a very labor intensive kind of a stage in early 1920s to a mechanized one, which we are looking right now. And I think the future looks at digital technologies. We have IoT coming in, we have blockchain, we have artificial intelligence. So I think that's the future, and those are technologies that we can adopt very, very well to good use to improve our production as well as productivity. I think the government has done and has, there are a number of initiatives that have already been rolled out in the previous years. In fact, programs like the drone subsidy program, wherein the kisans can use drones for doing crop assessments and insecticide spraying, etc. So those are programs that have been rolled out, which are very, very good. But I think the awareness on these programs and also their adoption is something that we would like to see them see more and more people kind of adopting some of these programs and taking benefit of these initiatives of the government. I think in India we've looked at e-governance, wherein we moved from a government centric approach to a citizen centric approach, and I think now is the time to look at using technology for a farmer centric approach. And there are three or four interventions that I would want to suggest. One is having some sort of a single window, which is purely farmer centric. Even today, I think there are a number of portals, etc., which exist, but I think the farmer has to go to multiple of them to be able to get information. So some sort of a single window or one-stop shop that kind of completely eliminates the information asymmetry that exists would be very, very helpful. I think there was a mention of digital public infrastructure for agriculture, and I think that could be very, very well and very beneficial for the stakeholders in the agri sector. Second, I think there are uses of technology which can strengthen some of our existing programs, which is programs like the Fasal Bima Yojana, which can benefit from the use of technology in doing more accurate assessments and faster payouts. We can also use technology for irrigation and efficient water management. So that's the second part. The third is we can use technology also in allied sectors like fisheries. Satellite imagery can be used by fishermen to kind of make them more secure and safer when they go out in the seas. We can also use drone technologies for fisheries and aquaculture industries. And lastly, which is the fourth one, I think we should look at adoption of these agri-tech solutions, which is IoT, which can use sensors and bring back information on soil health, crop health, etc. Use of IoT, use of AI-based precision agriculture, all of this, and drone-based agriculture. All of this can help us improve the yield and overall grow the farmers' income.
Much just a follow-up question. A large section of our farmers are still marginal farmers with very small land holdings. In that case, do we overstate, the benefits of using something like a drone or something? Here, Rohit is talking about where, small hand tools and mechanization in the east of the country is about just 10%. And then we're talking, about drones and IoTs. Are we overstating the importance of technology? I mean, such technologies.
No, I think one size doesn't fit all. So is how I would put it. Yes, we have a large our large percentage of our farmers with small land holdings where a lot of mechanization still needs to happen. But we also need to use available technology wherever possible is what my sense would be, and more in an institutional way. So I'm just saying when we're looking at, for example, weather forecasting, or for example crop forecasting, those are areas that the farmers can and in a particular region can benefit largely from. So I think it has to be a combination of both. We have to look at what fits where. For small land holding, obviously there is a need for farm mechanization wherever it has not happened, but also seeing where is the potential of the technologies that were not available yesterday, which are available today for us.
Hmm. Sharmila, coming to you, there's a view that millets need to be included in the PDS system. Experts say that such a move to include millets in the PDS can address both the nutritional value of the vast population and ensure also in remunerative prices for millet growers. What are your views on this?
Absolutely. In fact, if you see the last year during the millet year from the Prime Minister, also the Finance Minister, it was the repeated announcements to include in PDS. In fact, if you see now what has been given, it's like rice khichdi or chikki or whatever has been given in the PDS. So if you replace it by, let's say, millet khichdi, now millet khichdi again, to use positive millets like foxtail, barnyard, kodo, proso, brown top. Now, again, the production, if you see the 98% is ragi, jawar, bajra, but positive millets is like 2%. So, in the millet khichdi, if you see this positive millets are incorporated, which are gluten-free, low GI, highest fiber. If you see nowadays on TV, there is an ad like a kid is in the toilet and mother is asking, beta ho gaya, 2 times no. and then third time he says ho gaya bada khush okay. So the message is like high fiber atta. So what is high fiber atta? That's all millet. So if the PDS is if it gets incorporated like millet khichdi, millet chikki, so whatever the regularly is being made just to replace the ingredients with the millets, and children loves Maggie. Now whole world is behind noodles and pasta and all junk food. And for the children, millet noodles, millet pasta can be given, which is made 100% from noodles. So in their stomach, at least the millet flour is going, millet nutrition is going. If you see the ragi satwa, health mixes, the whole conspiracies in the food market, if you will see now on the name of health mixes, health drinks, and even like the latest conspiracies and the controversies on the health drinks. So if we incorporate millets, which is like India's own ancient grain, it can be benefited so much to the masses, to the children, to the schools and the PDS like across the country on national health agenda. At the same time, to remove the like incentivizing farmers to grow the production, MSP needs to be higher, because now whole focus is on the high yield crops, high MSP, that is rice, wheat or maize. So how does the farmers will start growing it? So the demand if increases, so PDS will take the major attention by attracting this, and also to encourage growing positive millets, because ragi, bajra, jawar is very common if you say if you will see the nationally growing, but positive millets is only 2%. So that needs to be increased, and this PDS will definitely attract the larger attention, the demand, consumer, and the present generations. So I think the wholesome efforts will be definitely counted towards the growing the production of the millets.
Right. I like the concept of millet Maggie and millet pasta. Rohit, coming to you, what are the challenges that an emerging brand like yours face in the sector?
Challenges, agriculture is full of challenge first for all. So it's like rural distribution, seasonality factor, you know, demand generation, plus convincing farmers to use new technologies. It's again very difficult. If you go to farmer, we train them how to use the new equipment. They say, we do farming from generation. How can you teach us this is wrong or this is right? So a mindset. So again, to summarize this, I can say, there's a problem of awareness. There's a problem of affordable products. Then there is a accessibility problem. So you can say it like a 3 years, like affordability, awareness, and accessibility. And awareness, we understand there's a lack of education. Affordability, we understand, tractor is like 10 lakh rupees equipment, and it's way bigger than the pocket of the marginal farmers, and 86% of the farmers in India are small and marginal, having land holding less than 2 hectares. Sorry. So it's pretty much unaffordable with them. So affordable products need to be there. There's the one challenge which we face. And the third is accessibility. Accessibility is a key thing, which is the most challenging one, because accessibility further can be divided into I can say 3 parts. One is delivering the machine to the farmer at its doorstep, having that accessibility level at the village level. Secondly, these machines are like bikes, which we deal in. Tractor is like cars, hand tools are like cycles, I can say, and the machines which we deal in is like bikes. So giving a bike but not training farmer how to ride it, again it's a problem, right? So that accessibility, I can say, delivering that machine to the farmer, then training him that you need to use that machine in the right manner, then servicing it, doing a regular after sale service, giving them spare part, giving them guidance if there is a wear and tear. So to summarize again, I can say awareness, accessibility, and affordability are the 3 key points which we think it's a key challenging in our sector at least. So these are challenges we face day to day, and we created an ecosystem which we are trying to solve this problem.
Right, Rohit. Interesting. Bhuvnesh, coming to you, in India, approximately about 14 billion worth of crops are wasted annually due to poor cold chain facilities and disorganized logistics. Why has cold chain logistical challenges been so difficult to address, and which policies have helped and which haven't?
Uh, so let's split it into two. The first part is the logistics itself, right? So on the logistics front, a lot of rural infra doesn't exist, like roads itself or accessibility to trucks there. So if let us say there are apples being grown in Kashmir during the season, right? So cold storage facilities are not there that much. Similarly, when you talk Himachal, cold storage facilities are not there and access to trucks during that time. So idea is to first is logistics itself. So nothing much has been done because a lot of spend has to be done from the rural infra constructs so that there has to be roads to put trucks there. Correct. And the second piece now comes is around cold chain setups itself. So that's a capex heavy task. So which means if we have to set up a cold chain storage, let's say 10, 12,000 tons, again, for it to everything has to be sustainable down the line. Down the line, we can define 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, right? In that horizon, it entails a lot of capital investment. Even if it is subsidized, a lot of upfront capital investment is also required from an entrepreneur. So idea is, so I will say there are two parts. On the logistics front, a lot of local infra has to be built, primarily roads, availability of labor, all those things. So which has not happened. And that's the first key thing because of which a lot of wastage happens. Plus, there's definitely at the farm level, a lot of training of the farmers, packing, sorting, grading, everything remains. And on the second front, on the cold chain fronts, being not there is primarily because of the capex and the output that, let's say, a private company would want to have. Right. So idea is there is twofold, and it has to be primarily solved via public-private partnership. Because at the end, for a private partnership, there has to be a capital output, even if the gestation is long.
Right. Last question, which remains the same for everyone, Bhuvnesh, starting with you since I was with you. What is your wish list from budget this year? What would you want BFM to do?
So, see, primarily idea would be again, so from a public-private partnership construct on the supply chain front, which is your food processing industry, as well as setting up of cold chain and dry chain facilities. So a lot of more subsidies, upfront capital expenditure from either FPOs or let us say new entrepreneurs has to come in. So that is primarily one piece because that is where we deal in. And second is government has definitely done a lot on the distribution of the raw material side, like I told about ENAMs, NCDFA, NEML, a lot of organizations out there. Second thing is enabling them somehow with the private sector. Because right now, if we go to these portals and see the business, it is 99% government on one of the sites. So which means even this has been enabled just for the government procurement. But the business procurement is much more heavier when we talk exports, imports, and all those things. So I think these are two primarily wishes that the government should work on. Yeah.
Right. Rohit, coming to you, what should the budget include?
To be a specific, I can say there is a scheme run by government called Submission on Agriculture Mechanization SMEM. I think the budget allocation, it gives the subsidies to the small and marginal holders which adopt the machinery below 8 HP, and it's 50% depending on the machine to machine. So I think that budget to be increased because initial thrust has to be given by the government to start the wheel, right? The second, I think there should be awareness budget. Like there was a polio drive, polio mukt India. So it should be like keep machinery up now, and that can be done largely by the government itself. Government say machinery up now, let the farmer decide which machinery. But a government say machinery up now, it can change many things, right? And so such awareness campaign should be added in the budget to win the agri space. And third, GST rebates on at least mechanization. I think I agree. Products a farmer, it's a direct burden on the farmer. It's 12 to 18% increasing in cost of the farmers, which restricts mechanization. So that's the three specific asks I can say around the farm machinery to be added in the budget. Maybe not this time, then the next time. So yeah.
Right. Sharmila, coming to you, what do you want BFM to do?
As if you remember the last budget, it was like maximum focus was on millets. And then suddenly year finishes and suddenly then there is a silence. So I would like to bring back that attention and to establish national millet board, which will handle all the kind of issues and farmers and the market and the balance between them. The most important thing is tax exemption. Ready to eat, ready to cook. What happened is like the prices are so high, like once upon a time, garibo ka khana jise kehte the. So that's so expensive that people are not able to afford it. I mean, even the good people, good earnings, they are also not buying it because it's price wise, it's so high. So tax exemption is very important. PLI scheme, which was announced and which was given till 2022, and after then again there is a silence. It was declared, announced repeatedly, but again execution is not there. So many times things are on the papers, but theoretically, but practically not implemented. So PLI scheme is very essential for the MSEs and MSMEs to do the larger value addition, value chain from the millets. Farmers needs to be incentivized. MSP needs to be increased. That's the most important thing. Export needs to be given good schemes or the incentives for the export. Otherwise, I'm just coming from US. Suddenly, again, it gone down. The demand is gone down, and the people are crying on the shelf having millets. It's not, so they are just throwing away, and then the things are not that good. The reason is again like so much propaganda, and then suddenly there is nothing. So that gap, the efforts needs to be consistent from the government side also. Even in the markets, when we are calling it as India's nutri cereals, the most nutritional, in fact compared to whatever available in the markets, which is GMO and which is not good. So the millets, which is like nutritional nutri cereals, so that needs to be given space. And if you see the shelf is so expensive, so in the budget, if it can be given some kind of mandates on the markets like modern trade or the GT, so then that attention will be there, and I think markets will be more open. And the last but not the least is center of excellence presently is only one place, that is Hyderabad. Now, if you see the people or the startups or the industries from all across, especially Rajasthan, which is growing highest Bajra, or Maharashtra, Mumbai, Pune, very prominent places, or Delhi. I mean, everyone faces a lot of like language issues because they are not able to go to Hyderabad. So center of excellence can be developed every state rather. Odisha, for example, growing largest millets. So, I mean, it doesn't suffices the purpose having only one center of excellence at Hyderabad. Every state has the best of the best universities, academics. R&D needs to be, I mean, given a lot of focus. Innovations, technology needs to be emphasized. Hand-holding, mentoring to the startups, and the push again, and the efforts, consistency, even through the media. Like I'm very glad that ET has invited me talking on millets, because suddenly after the year, everything is gone on the backseat. I mean, millets is like again disappeared. So that should not happen. Because imagine all those farmers, all those startups, all this whole ecosystem which has been developed in 1 year, even the media promotions, suddenly like silence. So I mean, it will lose its momentum. So millet year has to be millet decade. So my sincere request to the finance minister would be, and the government would be, to declare it as a millet decade, so that the PDS and the farmers and the whole ecosystem, I mean commercially as well, gets the more and more attention, and har ghar millet and ghar ghar millet can be implemented and executed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sharmila. Himanshu, last word to you. What
Thank
would
you
you
so
want
much.
the FM to do in the budget this year?
Very, very, fantastic insights by some of the panelists, and I couldn't agree more, can't agree more with what they are saying, and the passion also, I think, is very, very good. In terms of my recommendations, I think three or four. One is on the logistics and warehousing, which you mentioned is one of the weakest link in the entire value chain. In fact, Bhuvnesh mentioned quite a bit on it, and in fact, while Bhuvnesh was talking about, roads, etc., there's this one small, two-liner that I got reminded of. This is from a Himachali poet who said, that सड़क तुम अब आई हो गाँव सड़क तुम अब आई हो गाँव जब पूरा गाँव शहर जा चुका. So, we really don't want to miss the bus is my point, and therefore, as far as warehousing is concerned, logistics is concerned, there has to be an agri infrastructure mission, and that has to kind of develop infrastructure on a mission mode, way. So that is one. Second, I talked about self-sufficiency earlier as well. I think there have to be programs that look at reducing our import dependency on certain crops crops, which also include, perhaps growing more millets. So I think that's something that we need to look at. Third is in terms of the entire climate impact. So again, where crops like millet come into picture, but overall, looking at it holistically in terms of what are the crop varieties we should be growing? Are there better ways of water managing irrigation and water, or for example, are there better varieties of crops that are available today for us, which are more climate resilient? Is something that we need to weave into a comprehensive program. Is something that I would want the finance minister to perhaps look at. Yeah.
Right. I think climate would be the wild card in this entire discussion. I think this was a fun discussion on a very serious sector. Thank you so much, Himanshu, Rohit, Bhuvnesh, and Sharmila for being a part of. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
friends.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Thank you
being
so
here.
much.